Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Rogers here, and I wanted to talk really quick about human communication. And it really has nothing to do with the topic we're going to talk about directly. I like to think about this and use this as a way to think about what is going on in cellular communication, because we don't really like to think, we can't think in that micro sense. We only can think in the things that we know. And so we're going to think about human communication and how it works. So let's think about this real quick. I will take a brush here and hopefully this works. I have a person, we'll call him Frank. Frank is talking to Bob, and we've all talked before. We have all had a conversation with somebody. This isn't a new thing. I don't think any of us have never talked to anybody, okay? And so let's think about this. So Frank is talking. His words are traveling. Frank hears his words. It goes inside Frank's head, or Bob's head. So this is Bob. Bob hears Frank's words. It goes inside Bob's head. He has to think about what those words mean. He has to create context, and then he has to react how appropriately. Like maybe Frank says something that's really, really mean, and the response is that Frank gets, or Bob here gets super mad. His eyes turn red. Okay. Or maybe he says something really nice and, Bob blushes. This is the worst picture ever. But you get the idea. Okay. We do this all the time. Think about you communicating. You have to transmit a sound. Someone has to hear that sound, has to correlate what it is, react appropriately, and then sometimes we'll send a message back to you that you then have to comprehend and react appropriately. And cells are the same way. We have two cells here. We might have a cell in our brain that's trying to control this cell over here. He has to send a signal to this guy. This cell needs to act appropriately. He's got to know what's going to happen next. And then he has to actually do something. Like maybe it's for him to make a certain kind of protein. And so he releases these proteins out of the cell. This all has to happen across your body in this weird orchestra kind of framework, and it has to make sense. It has to sound good, because if your cells aren't communicating well together, then life can't happen. And so we have to kind of understand what this process looks like. In the last 20 years, we've learned a ton about this process. This is a process that is not exclusive to humans. It's something that all living things do, which shows us that this was one of the first things that evolved in living things, was this idea of talking to each other, communicating, interacting with cells that might not be your own cells or might be your own cells. Either way, interaction is key here. And we have to understand that communication is not just receiving a signal, it's interpreting that signal. It's having a plan for what to do when that happens. And a cell has to have a set kind of idea when, okay, I get this signal, I'm going to do this or that. Kind of like you guys have a set idea for what to do when a certain signal comes across to your brain. You guys either act this way or this way. It's not just a random chance. And so this is something we got to think about when cells are communicating with each other, is why did this evolve the way it evolved? Did it evolve a certain way to make sure it's fast? Did it evolve a certain way to make sure it works every time? Did it evolve a certain way to happen across long distances or short distances? Do the cells react huge, or they react a little bit? Are these big signals, small signals? It all plays a huge part. And so I want you guys to think about this when we're going through cells. Think about them as humans communicating. You have a trillion cells, more than 75 trillion cells in your body. They're all communicating. They all have to make sense of all the communications. Not only your cells, but then there's also other living things in there that now we're finding are communicating with you and themselves as well. And so think about this as you're going through the next couple of weeks here. Think about how this would work. How does this work? What does this look like? And that will help you a lot if you think about humans communicating when we're talking about cells. All right, guys, good luck today.